morning. It is Tuesday, July 7th, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, it's crunch time for negotiators in Vienna, where Iran and world powers are set to sign an agreement today on Iran's nuclear program. A year after the start of Operation Protective Edge in Gaza, we look at the toll the war has taken on the children of the region. And later on the show, for something slightly lighter, it's International Chocolate Day. Yes, indeed it is. And we'll take a closer look at what are the new flavors out there. Maybe we'll even eat them. Good morning, I'm Yael Levi, and we begin in Vienna this morning, where the clock ticking on the new self-imposed deadline world powers and Iran set that for the nuclear deal negotiated between them has begun its final turn. At this point in time, on this July 7th, all foreign ministers and delegates are in place in Vienna. A dispute, though, over UN sanctions on Iran's ballistic missile program and a broader arms embargo has emerged as a new sticking point this morning in the negotiations. According to reports from Vienna, Iran is now demanding a lifting of the embargoes, claiming that they were part of a Security Council's unfair, to quote them, treatment of the country. The six world powers, on the other hand, are having a harder time accepting that rationale, arguing that removing those measures as well could further destabilize the region. An Iranian official, though, yesterday advised that the talks could continue until July 9th, echoing some Western diplomats. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, though, said negotiations were still aiming to end and to culminate today, the date they set when they missed a June 30th deadline, i.e. the week that ends today. Joining us in studio is Dr. Raz Zimt. Good morning to you.
Good
from
morning.
The Alliance Center for Iranian Studies at Tel Aviv University and the Forum for Regional Thinking. Ami Kaufman with us in studio as well, the man you need to hear from when you want to know the news. Also with us, I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev. Good morning. Let's first watch the following report about the latest from Vienna and break it down from there.
That's it. The renewed D-Day for a nuclear deal with Tehran is in 24 hours. Exactly 1 week ago, we were in the same situation, and while a lot has happened since, no one can tell yet whether the P5+1 world powers and Tehran will meet the deadline and sign an agreement.
There are still several issues outstanding on the table. We believe that acceptable solutions can be found to these outstanding issues. Hence, the comprehensive agreement is within reach.
This is a big chance to end a long-lasting conflict after 12 years of negotiations. And not only to end a conflict, but also to give a signal to the whole Middle East region.
All the P5+1 foreign ministers arrived in Vienna Monday to give a final push and narrow the remaining gaps. But if in recent days the prospects of reaching a definitive deal on time seemed very high, on Monday the clock was ticking a bit too fast, with not only the July 7th deadline in sight, but also July 9th. If that deadline is reached, the U.S. Congress will have 30 days to review a deal. If not, the review period doubles to 60 days. Someone who is likely to be satisfied with a 60-day review period is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has already begun to prepare for the day after the deal, convincing American lawmakers to voice any objections.
This deal will pave Iran's path to a nuclear arsenal. It will give them a jackpot of hundreds of billions of dollars with which to continue to fund their aggression and terror. Aggression in the region, terror throughout the world.
And while negotiations continue in Vienna, a second IAEA visit in Tehran is underway. The 5-member delegation of the UN watchdog arrived in the Iranian capital Monday, following the visit of the Director General Yukiya Amano last Thursday. This trip is focused on prior understandings reached between Iran and the UN nuclear agency, namely the issue of access to Iran's nuclear facilities and scientists, all crucial if a deal is to be signed.
Let's go first live straight to Vienna, where I-24 News correspondent Eli Hochenberg is standing by, covering the talks. Eli, what is expected today? What do we know, if anything, because these talks are incredibly closed down and tight-lipped, so to speak, when it comes to information coming out of there? Who is meeting whom today? What do we know? Does it seem imminent that the deal can be signed today?
Yes, well, despite this slowdown in negotiations and the fact that the deadline, the renewed deadline, will not be met, the negotiations here continue. And as you said, all the P5+1 foreign ministers are in town, so engaged in ongoing discussions. And again, the diplomatic will to reach an agreement is still very much exists. And last night, a source close to the U.S. delegation told us that the Americans made it very clear that if the Iranian will not start making some concessions, softening their approach, they will simply walk away. But on the contrary, a source close to the Iranian delegation tells us, I know my people. We go into the store, we bargain our life out, but when it's crunch time, when we feel like it's a make it or break it time, we will sign a deal or buy the product and go home satisfied. So despite the less optimistic atmosphere that we had here a couple of days ago, the prospect of reaching an agreement are still high, and the confidence in the ability of the teams to reach understandings is still pretty solid.
It's pretty solid. Ellie, thank you very much for this update from Vienna. Obviously, we'll be covering this throughout the day, as it is July 7th. Just opening this up for our guests in the studio. Raz Sims, I'd like to start with you, because this morning and late last night, all the newspapers around the world, everybody's basically chiming on the Iranian new demand all of a sudden. You and I had this short discussion outside of the studio. Is there a chance that world powers will agree, because to me it seems that not, will agree to this new demand of lifting the weapons embargo that's been instituted in the UN on Iran, which was not included in the original negotiations? And why is Iran putting this? Is this a maneuver? Is this a last-second attempt to get something else?
First of all, I don't know if there is an Iranian new demand. It was
reported, very true.
It was reported, yeah. The Iranians are doing the best to do whatever they can to use the fact that the West has a deadline. Iranians don't have a deadline. Well, they want an agreement, but the Iranian parliament doesn't have to review the agreement for 30 or 60 days. So they can do whatever they want to raise new demands. But eventually, I think it's time for spinning. So we should treat
these like lifting the embargo, weapons, whatnot. Because it's
actually, I'm quite amazed by the Iranians, because the Iranians for years said that missiles are out of the questions because there is no connection between missile and nuclear capability.
Right.
And now, if this report is correct, they want to lift the sanctions over the missile problem. So it seems quite strange, and it seems to me that it's only, yeah.
But when it comes to, just on that front, there was a fascinating article yesterday in Haaretz talking about the fact that the Iranians back home have already started selling the agreement that has not been signed yet to their people in Iran as a fait accompli, as something that's done. Is that the feeling in Iran, from what you can learn as somebody researching the country?
Sure, because there are great expectations within Iranian public. Now, there is the extreme right, the radical right in Iran, which keeps criticizing the agreement, calling it a bad deal, a very bad deal. It should remain in Vienna, not going back to Iran. But the majority of the Iranian population, and we've discussed it previously, are eager to have an agreement. There are great expectations to remove the sanctions, to improve the economic situation in Iran, and the government knows that. So it wants, first of all, to say, yes, we are going to have a deal,
right.
But on the other hand, to make it very clear that it's going to be a good deal which observes the supreme leader's red lines.
Red lines that we all know and that we have discussed. Speaking of good and bad deals, Tal Shalev, you know, that's time for you. And speaking about the day after, because it seems imminent in one way or the other, although we might be surprised. When it comes to the Israeli administration, because we haven't heard the Israeli Prime Minister that much on it in the last several days. I mean, you were there yesterday, but
he's been saying every day he's been releasing a statement with the same talking points. He changed them a bit. Last week we were talking about the comparison between ISIS and Iran.
Right.
He probably understood that one wasn't working, that talking point that wasn't working so well. This week he's talking about the fact that the deal that is emerging is worse than the North Korea deal, and that world powers are their concessions are growing by the day. He has been trying to voice his objections. One of the problems with Netanyahu's voice at this point is that his deterrence has eroded, because it's kind of like the boy that cried wolf. Nobody really wants to listen to him anymore. That's why it was interesting to see over the weekend that the leader of the opposition, Isaac Herzog, joined him in the opposition to the deal, and he did say that if reports of sanction relief that are coming out of Vienna are true, he said that this would be an irreversible catastrophe. But on that, we should also note that yesterday something really interesting happened in the Israeli political system, because usually Netanyahu says, other politicians say that on the Iranian issue there's no opposition and coalition. Yesterday, Yair Lapid, leader of the Yesh Atid party, does come out and say that the deal that is emerging is a bad deal, but he also says that if this bad deal is signed, then Netanyahu should resign. He says that Netanyahu has his name all over this deal, that he because of him, and we can discuss that point. What Lapid says is that because Netanyahu's bad relationship with the U.S. and other world powers has created a situation in which Israel's concerns are not being taken into account. And if we just compare this round of negotiations, this crunch time, to previous crunch times we've had in these negotiations, then we used to hear a phone call from Kerry to Netanyahu. Sure. The Americans would communicate their attempt to reach out to the Israeli government. We're not hearing that this time. We're not hearing any reports of that. There hasn't been a phone call.
Wasn't that put into lockdown right after the Netanyahu speech in front of Congress? Isn't that type of relationship completely, locked off post-negotiation?
There are the relationship between the National Security Advisor and his counterparts in the White House continues. There are, we're talking about very high-level discussions that even just if you take like 2 levels under Netanyahu, these discussions continue. But the fact is that Israel doesn't really know what's going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. And yesterday we speak to a senior Israeli official who is involved in the talks, and he says, look, we'll know in 36 hours. That's the situation Israel is in now. We'll know in 36 hours.
Speaking about the day after, and before we touch on Israel and its reaction on the day after, Raz, I'm wondering with you, let's say there is a deal. It's signed. Okay. Middle East the day after. What does it look like? What is Iran's position in it? What does it reach? What are the speculations in that respect?
The main obstacle, the main challenge Iranians are going to face are internal challenges. With all due respect to Iranian activity in the region and the support for Assad and Iraq and
everything that everybody's been warning us about.
The major issue is domestic. How to translate this nuclear deal into economic gains. Rouhani knows that. Khamenei knows that. There is, as I said before, there are great expectations within the Iranian public, not just economic speaking. Some of the reforms in Iran really expect the president to carry out civilian political reforms as well. Khamenei is very concerned. We have less than a year ahead the parliamentary elections in Iran. So I think the major effect is going to be domestically. Iran might have, well, it will have more money to spend. But as I said before, I think the major obstacle towards Iranian activity in the region is not financial. It can increase its assistance to Syria, but this is not the main issue.
No, it's fascinating. Just to follow up on that for a second, can I say then can we argue then that all these warnings of the rest of the world and how dangerous Iran is going to be, is that a bit over dramatic? Because if what you're saying as a researcher of that country, that internally they have much more to deal with than trying to conquer the rest of the Middle East?
I think so. I think the main obstacles towards Iranian increasing its influence in the region are not economically or financially. They have the money today. assisting the Hamas doesn't require too much money. Right. They can increase their support for Assad, but Saudi Arabia is still going to be there. It's still continue its support for the Yemenite. So that's not going to change, in my opinion.
Right. No. Interesting to look at it that way, which is not something that you hear here. But Tal, what we heard also throughout the reports is that this deal is dependent, if in Iran, apropos on the selling into the Iranian people, but also in internal powers. In the United States, this deal is dependent on many other things. In that respect, the Congress and U.S. Congress, is going to try and block the agreement once it is finalized and goes to lawmakers for approval. If the deal fails to get approval, U.S. President Barack Obama may good on his threat to veto it. Okay.
The process is a bit different because it's not that Congress approves the deal. It can set a motion of disapproval, and then that might pass. That could the Republicans and some Democrats.
Looking into the future, because Hillary Clinton, a front runner for the Democratic Party yesterday, actually comes out with this interesting letter about Israel, apropos the BDS whatnot, and she's chiming in also in not seeming to be very, very pleased with the supposed deal.
Well, it's not only Hillary Clinton. Today, Dennis Ross, one of Obama's closest advisors, publishes an article in which he says the deadline isn't important, the deal is important, and you can sense some criticism about the American standing at this finish line of the talks. Definitely, the administration will have to set on a heavy PR campaign, because the opponents of the deal, meaning the Israel, the pro-Israel lobby, and heavy Jewish donors are pouring money into fueling a campaign that will persuade Congress to override the veto. What are the chances of that actually happening? In Israel, people do understand that that's not the chances are not high. Right, but it's worth the attempt in any case. And there is a report today in Haaretz that Netanyahu himself does think that he stands a chance. So it's going to be a very, very challenging period for the administration after the deal is signed.
After the deal is signed. Tal Shalev and Raz Zimt, I want to thank you for being with us this morning. As we know, the clock is ticking. It's now 8:16 Middle Eastern time, so we've got approximately, I'm not going to try and make the calculation, but it's still midnight. By midnight, thank you for being with me this morning. Time to move to the rest of the news that you might have missed while scanning the headlines and putting Iran aside. The news, I think, over the course of this week, Ami Kaufman.
Yeah. You just said that the clock is still ticking. The clock is still ticking, actually, for Greece.
It's true.
After the resounding no at the Greek referendum yesterday, and the man, of course, who stole the show, Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis, who resigned yesterday, Angela Merkel and François Hollande issued Athens a 24-hour ultimatum saying they have to come up with a new plan today, Tuesday. That's when they have to do it. They have to decide on how, or they're out of the Eurozone. And I believe we have a report.
Let's take a look at the following report and then break it down. I think we have that report. Okay, and apparently we
don't have that report.
But
okay, actually, I have a few more items I want to show you about this
but
topic.
Hold on one second. I think when it comes to Greece, let's move along.
Okay, so there are of course options about how are we going to keep it toe a tough line with Greece, or are we not? So the Guardian has an op-ed by John Quiggin saying that backing down on Greece's debt is the safest, most rational option.
I think we do have the report at this point, so let's take a look.
A surprise high-ranking resignation, plummeting stocks worldwide, and an uncertain future for the monetary union. These are just some of the aftershocks of the resounding no the Greek people expressed Sunday on the European bailout deal. For the country's premier, the most pressing action to take after achieving the result he wanted was to stress that Greece has not withdrawn from the bailout talks.
We are ready to continue negotiations with a credible financial plan, with a plan of credible reforms that will be accepted by Greek society, that will have as a criteria social justice and the transfer of burdens from the weak to the economically strong.
But the unexpected resignation of Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis has once again shuffled the cards for Greece. European negotiators are likely to see the move as a sign of the instability of the new Greek government. Despite all this, Monday has been a crucial day for the country's future, with emergency meetings taking place worldwide. Greece's negotiating team is off to Brussels to reignite negotiations on Greece's economic future, And German Chancellor Angela Merkel will meet with French President François Hollande in Paris. On the same day, the European Central Bank is expected to decide whether to extend its emergency liquidity assistance to Greek banks. Also Monday, Deutsche Bank estimated that a Grexit is now considerably more likely and that Tsipras's Syriza government may be replaced to enable a new deal with creditors. With stocks spiraling down from Hong Kong to Frankfurt to Madrid following the no vote, market analysts say the Eurozone will soon part ways with Greece.
It doesn't really matter which way the vote went in a way because, Greece either goes soon or it goes at some point in the not too distant future, so it's effectively down to timing.
And with the world effectively shying away from the aftermath of its financial collapse, Greece turned Monday to an improbable ally.
I'm here for constructive talks with you, Prime Minister, as a good friend from Israel, and we know that Israel is a good and important friend for Greece.
An unlikely friend of Greece in the Middle East, at a time when friends of Greece, like the country's financial credit, are in somewhat short supply.
Let's go straight to Athens, where we were joined by Channel 2 Senior Foreign Affairs Editor Arad Nir. Arad, good morning to you.
Good morning, Yael.
Lovely having you with us. Athens, a day after this dramatic vote, but maybe more dramatically, the finance minister resigning. Where does Athens stand this morning? There is this deadline. Crunch time has come and gone. Where does Athens stand this morning when it comes to its financial future?
Well, I'd put it this way. Athens is standing depressed this morning. I've been I'm at the airport now. I've been driving, took my taxi quite early in the morning, just to avoid the traffic.
Right.
And guess what? There is no traffic. The streets are deserted. The taxi driver was moaning that there's no business. People don't go out of their homes. They keep on sleeping because there is no cash flow. What I did see on the way here on 7 o'clock in the morning, queues next to the ATM machines, people are still queuing for money because it is being rationed, still being controlled by the government. There is no cash in this country. So everybody is expecting something to happen this evening in Brussels. I don't know if the Greeks will deliver, but there is one piece of information that's been overlooked in the last 24 hours, is that the Greek Prime Minister, Alexis Tsipras, managed to align all sections of parliament behind him to offer something to Brussels.
Right.
So this may be a beginning of a certain compromise on the Greek side. We'll have to look.
Fascinating and definitely fascinating to see how this whole is transpiring. Arad Nir, I want to thank you very much for being with us this morning, straight from Athens, a country still on the brink. Ami,
yes. So there's two opposing views I thought I'd give you. One is from The Guardian, from John Quiggin, about what to do in what's the next step.
Right.
The safe option for the European institutions is to back down, write off lots of debt, and lose a lot of face. If Greece leaves the euro and recovers, the whole austerity project will be shown up as the failure it is. And if Greece leaves the EU, and especially if the UK also does, the European project is done for. And another one from Bloomberg.
They cannot let it leave. They cannot let it leave, and Tsipras knows that.
But here is a different view from Bloomberg, of course, I guess you'd call the beacon of corporate capitalism, who has a totally different view. This guy is Leonid Bershitsky. He says that Greece has voted, now kick them out. Let's read the first paragraph. Greece has voted overwhelmingly against a compromise that would have allowed Europe to continue financing it. Now it must be forced out of the euro and perhaps from the European Union. Otherwise, everybody will demand the same no-strings deals, and aspirants from Eastern Europe will want to join the bloc for all the wrong reasons. So that is coming from Bloomberg.
From there. If it were run by, I think, from the beacon of corporate America,
yes.
Yeah, they would be out.
Right.
Okay.
On to a totally different, something unusual press review. Al Arabiya is reporting that an Iraqi fighter jet accidentally bombed Baghdad on its way back from attacking ISIS targets. Just a few minutes before it was supposed to land in its base in Baghdad, 12 people were killed in this accident.
Awful.
This accident. And I just want to read you the end of the piece, because this is Iraq on an everyday basis. Because this
exactly.
is the last few lines of this piece are also Monday. Separate attacks in and around Baghdad killed at least 7 people. There were 3 attacks. Nobody talks about this stuff anymore. There was bombings.
Daily. Dozens of people are killed daily in Baghdad over the course of the last 12 years.
Yes.
That is the frightening thing. Since 2003, a bomb explodes in Iraq, you know, every single day, if not two.
And these are the bottom lines of news items.
In the small print. And by the way, people are still dying. No, terrible. Yes.
In Nigeria, some more death and destruction, of course. This has been a horrible week of violence that was, of course, initiated by Boko Haram. 250 people have almost died in this week. But yesterday, 44 people died in the city of Jos as a suicide bomber attacked a mosque in the city of Jos. Amnesty International says that since 2009, this violence related to Boko Haram has killed about 17,000 people since 2009.
For our death and destruction dose of the morning, Africa never fails to deliver.
About that, yeah.
Yes.
On to one of, you know, this is one of my favorite stories. David Sweat, who was one of the guys who escaped from the New York Correctional Facility, now will be spending 23 hours a day in a prison cell. He had it easy before in the Clinton Correctional Facility. He was, you know, working in the tailor shop, got out of his cell, he spent hours outside of his. Now he's going to spend 23 hours a day in this new prison where he sleeps and eats and washes and spends nearly all of his time in a 105 square foot cell with a bed, a writing platform, a toilet, a sink, and a shower, and that's all he's got right now.
Sounds a little bit like my bedroom. No, just okay, yes.
Singapore freed a young man called Amos Yee. I call him Amos for some reason. I don't know why. He's 16. He criticized Lee Kuan Yew, the former founding father of modern Singapore who died. A few months ago when he died, he released a video that was very critical of this man. And we have, you look at him, this is a 16-year-old man. He spent 4 months in a mental hospital. He doesn't look too well right now, if you can see. And I just, this is a really sign about how free speech is very, very limited in Indonesia. As we can see from the item from the Straits Times, which is the largest daily in the country. It's also kind of considered the mouthpiece for the ruling party.
Right.
Their headline is Amos Yee was jailed for 4 weeks for wounding religious feelings and uploading an obscene image.
There was
I want to show you. Let's just see the video of the original video that got him in trouble and see the difference between him now and then.
Let's see the video.
Lee Kuan Yew was a horrible person because everyone is scared. Everyone is afraid that if they say something like that, they might get into trouble, which, give Lee Kuan Yew credit, that was primarily the impact of his legacy. But I'm not afraid. So if Lee Hsien Loong wishes to sue me, I will oblige to dance with him.
Isn't that amazing?
No, it's amazing. And you know, it's the 16-year-old kid that does what every 16-year-old kid around the world does. Puts a video on YouTube.
And says what he wants to say.
And then he comes out.
Did you see how he looks when he comes out of that hospital?
Terrifying.
He's a totally different child now.
Yes, Singapore. Everybody chimes always on how amazing it is financially and how people are living well there, but you just not allowed to speak. Exactly. Okay, yes.
And I want to finish with this Haaretz exclusive. Google's Waze, which is, of course, invented in Israel, is to launch a worldwide carpooling pilot in Israel.
Sorry.
And I'm going to have to read to you how this is going to work. It's kind of complicated.
We are out of time. God, we are out of time. Sorry. Yes, but stay with us. When we get back, a year has passed since last summer's war in Gaza. We'll take a closer look at its effects. First, the news. I-24 News Morning Edition. Good morning and thank you for staying with us on this July 7th. Well, July 7th also marks actually a year to what happened in this region where we're sitting right now between Israel and Hamas, and it's last year's war. Last year's war between the two sides, Israel and Hamas, lasted 51 days, but the effects of the constant bombardments, rocket fire, and destruction will be felt by the victims of the war for a lifetime. Now, as the region, as we mentioned, marks a year to the conflict, we're going to take a closer look at the effects that linger on in those who sadly went through it on both sides of the border. On both sides of the border, it is usually the children also who have survived, those who have survived, that are scarred for life. A study released yesterday showed that the majority of children, nearly 70%, most of them living in areas of the Gaza Strip, hardest hit during the war, are showing signs of severe emotional distress and trauma. On the Israeli side, of course, many display the same, but it is no doubt that the images, sights, and sounds of the conflict will remain with them forever. And then there are those who came in to help the wounded and face the same. And these stories we will hear today from trauma expert Jan Andrea. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Very good to have you with us. Also from the National Director of Counseling Iran for Emotional First Aid, Dr. Shiri Daniels. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And of course, we will also be hearing from Gaza resident activist Maha Mehana, who will be joining us on the phone later on. First, though, let's watch the following report by Gabi Weiniger about children, the children victims of the war, and take it from there.
It was during Ramadan, almost at this time last year, when Amir's childhood was cut short. An Israeli airstrike destroyed his home, killing both his parents and leaving him orphaned.
When my father and my mother died, I thought I'd rather die with them than stay alone.
The 51-day war between Israel and Hamas saw more than 550 Palestinian children killed. Across Gaza, schools lost pupils and thousands were injured. Now, it's the youngest residents that are bearing the most lasting consequences of last summer's war.
When I go to bed, I can't sleep because I'm afraid of the shelling.
Not sleeping, nightmares and bedwetting are just some of the regular traumas pointed out in a new report released by Save the Children on Monday. Its title, Gaza, 1 year on, a living nightmare.
Children are experiencing a lot of fears, anxieties, and this is reflected, for example, on their sleep.
Volunteer groups are trying to help children come to terms with their trauma, with children as young as 6 living through their third war in 6 years.
They have nightmares, they cry at night, they want to sleep in the same bed as their parents. They feel frightened and useless.
The fear at night is transferred to the day. The report says more than 50% of children in some areas do not want to go to school anymore, afraid to leave their homes, and feeling unsafe in school buildings.
108 UNRWA facilities were damaged during the war, including 75 schools. A number of schools were targeted and damaged, and it's impossible to teach until the reform process is complete.
1 year on, and homes and schools have yet to be rebuilt, and children still play amid the rubble. A rife example of how the enclave has been unable to recover. Save the Children says this impacts on the children day to day, exposed to violence, risk of injury, displacement, poverty and restricted movement. Across the border, children in Israel also live in fear of a return to the conflict, some of them exhibiting the same post-traumatic stress.
Sometimes I don't feel so safe because I know that even though it's a shelter, if a lot of rockets come on it, it could still break.
One Israeli child was killed during the war and 270 children injured.
As I said, we're joined in studio by actually activists and people who followed this war closely and many, many sides. Jan Andrea, I want to start with you. Where were you during the war in Gaza, after the war in Gaza? You were basically working in Gaza itself, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. During the war, I was in the Netherlands, in my hometown, Amsterdam.
Right.
And when the war was over, I said to my colleagues and my friends, we need to go and visit our communities and to pay our respect. And then a few people in the Netherlands said, if you're really going to do that, we should make a documentary about that. And that documentary about the immediate situation for traumatized people after the war is going to be shown in Tel Aviv this week.
Right.
In Sderot and also in Gaza City itself.
And also in Gaza City itself.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss this documentary in a second, but before that, when you went into Gaza, into the region after, shortly after, what did you see?
I said it like this when I came back. I saw a lot of people like with birds with broken wings. They don't know how to face the future again, and they are really overwhelmed. I worked now for 20 years in Gaza, and I think the last 20 years I always found a spot that you can recreate power or vitality. And the last time I was there, I thought it's gone. It's completely gone.
No, and it's listening to words as such that I always find it so devastating that this conflict continues and continues. Shira, you work on the other side of the border, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, you've seen the children, the Israeli children of the south. What was the encounter with, you know, children and people after the war on that side of the border?
Well, they experience many traumatic symptoms because trauma occurs when there's a sense of threat to our physical or emotional well-being. And the symptoms of trauma can be cognitive, they can be emotional, and they could be physical. Children mainly don't talk about their emotions, they act them out. Right. So we see a lot of crying, of traumatized children finding it difficult to sleep, not willing to leave their house, not willing sometimes to leave the shelter, wanting their parents' comfort 24 hours, 7
24 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's important to note that except the traumatic symptoms, we also have life problems in many areas. These problems are intensified by the traumatic events and the rise in the national degree of anxiety.
Of anxiety, you know, speaking of, you know, problems, apropos, that goes hand in hand also with the situation in Gaza. And speaking of Gaza, because in the report that we saw, you know, there are several, you know, numbers that just to remind people what happened a year ago. And I'm always going to stress about the children because I think that's the future of the region and that's the frightening thing, that children of the region lose hope themselves. The conflict, for example, when we're looking at the conflict last year, the conflict was brutal, deadly, and terrifying, and we have those numbers. There we go. 551 children in Gaza alone were killed. 3,436 were injured, of whom 10% suffered permanent disability as a result. In Israel, 1 child was killed. 270 children were injured. And just looking at those left behind, that you realize what they're living with. Nightmares, on average, 7 out of 10 children in the worst-hit areas of Gaza are suffering from regular nightmares. Same goes on the other side of the border. But speaking of Gaza, as we continue this discussion here, I want to go straight to the resident of Gaza, activist Maha Mehana is always gracious enough to talk to us on this show. Maha, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Who is treating the children of Gaza or kids that are, you know, post-traumatized by the war last year?
And there are international organizations in Gaza like UNICEF, Save the Children, and other organizations that launch psychosocial programs for children. They're trying to help them through play therapy, through counseling. But children are still suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder because they still don't feel safe. They see that their ruined homes are still not rebuilt yet. They still see that no change happened on the ground since last summer. They are scared of balloons, of fireworks. They don't even enjoy a normal life like the rest of children in the world.
Yeah, and as you very well mentioned, it's also infrastructure and the fact that they're basically still living in the ruins of last year in many ways, correct?
Yes, yes, they still remember the events every single day. Many children witnessed family members killed in front, in front of their eyes. They witnessed their homes to be killed. I'm talking about the survivors, of course.
Right.
They witnessed their friends in schools who got killed. When they went back to school in the new school year, many children were missing in their classes. So you can imagine the effect of that on them.
No, entirely. And Jan, you know, when you said to me a minute ago that when you came in to the region and it was the first time that you felt like there was no hope.
Yeah.
Now, and you said that there's also a team documenting you. I want us to take a look, actually, at a clip from your film, from the film that was done about your work.
Oh, you have that?
Yes, we have that. So let's take a look. And this is about the work you did in Gaza after last year's war. Yep. Correct? Let's take a look.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Now you see, now it's coming out.
Okay, what is this technique? Yes.
It looks a little bit weird when you see it on the clip.
No.
Working on trauma is also very much on a physical level. There was a big study in Africa, and they looked to gazelles attacked by lions. And when there is a split second that the gazelle can escape, then it's traumatized. And then it's going away, find a place, and the animal is shivering to release the trauma. And
Interesting. Yeah.
Finding out that technique, I started to integrate that technique in working with people. So I let them shiver, I let them shout, I holding them very close. That's the work I'm doing.
No, and it's true. When you're listening to that, what kind of work does one do with kids? Because post-traumatic stress disorder, which, you know, it's something that adults know very well, soldiers know very well, journalists actually know very well in many ways. But for children, how is this, you know, the technique of that to me seems beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, well, we all of us live under the illusion that nothing bad will happen to us. And when traumatic events happen and disasters happen, it breaks our sense of continuity. Now, experiencing this at an early age changes the way we look at the world, ourselves, the way we look at others. Yeah. So we try to help kids, first of all, tell their story, to listen to them without judging them, without criticizing them, without telling them everything is going to be all right, which we love doing as adults, but it's not really helpful.
It's not right, because usually nothing is ever all right.
Exactly, so the illusion of control is shattered. So we try to mend the sense of continuity by telling their story, by validating, by anchoring, by resourcing, by doing physical techniques such as breathing and finding the channels of coping that is most suitable for the child. Like, for example, we got a call in our Iran's hotline, which got over 30,000 calls during the Gaza war, and he was saying, well, my 7-year-old won't stop crying. I tried everything, nothing helps, what do I do? So we spoke to the child, and it turns out she loves doing ballet. So we try to integrate that into the shelter. Right. That means when there's sirens going on, she finds the way that is most suitable for her to cope. And then we try to
it's a fascinating idea, and I mean, I'm sure you both, you know, it's a wonderful notion to think about that, because a confession, I ran with my children to the shelter last year. My 2.5-year-old, you know, it took her, I kept lying to her that this is just a game, and I could do that for a certain amount of time because I was living in Tel Aviv. My fears, and I'm going to have to state it, that in Gaza, it's very hard for a parent to say this is just a game or we're just going into here. When you saw children in Gaza after the war, and children everywhere should not be experiencing war, to me, what could you explain to them, what could you give them as a form of technique to reinstill hope?
Okay. What we do is explaining them that there is nothing to explain. If you, and by the way, a lot of parents do the same what you just said.
Yeah.
They are making a game out of it.
Yeah.
They are lying. They are changing reality. But the destruction is so massive
that you cannot
that you cannot hold it. And the risk is that the younger generation is losing trust in the older generation. So we let them talk.
Maybe they should. We're not doing such a great job. I'm just saying, but yeah, okay. If you look at the leaders here,
well, I think we're doing. I mean,
no, the parents. I was being facetious.
Yeah, well, even the lying is out of the best intention.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's trying to protect.
Exactly, I agree. It's important to take care of ourselves. Some of the parents don't realize that they are traumatized and they can't help their children when they don't find a way to cope and a way to deal with that before they go.
No, and it's a fascinating point. We have very little time left, but then I'm asking you, Jan and Shir, do you find also that after you deal with these traumas, that you yourself, when you go into these areas, that you come out also scarred in many ways?
Always when I come back, and especially the last time, I need counseling myself.
Right.
Because it's too overwhelming what you see, and it's something that your eyes can hardly bury.
Yeah.
That's, it's as simple as that.
No.
Iran also is part of the ITC, the Israeli Trauma Coalition, and we do trainings around the world in disaster areas. And what we found is that many professionals suffer from secondary traumatization.
Exactly.
And although they know it cognitively, they don't find the time to take care of themselves. And sometimes the first time they get the chance to tell their story is months, maybe years after.
Sadly, all the time, you have incredibly important work that both of you are doing. Thank you very much for being with us. It's Shivering in Gaza, the film that comes out in Tel Aviv this week. Do try and catch it if you're in the region. Stay with us when we get back. Something entirely different, chocolate, but we'll explain when we get back. Now the news. Welcome back. It is still Tuesday, July 7, 2015. Yes, there's still war, destruction, death, and mayhem around the world, but I don't care. We've got chocolates. So, yes. This is still the morning edition. I-24 News. You should have stayed with us, and you know why? There are a number of dates throughout the year promoting variations of local or national or international days dedicated to chocolate. Today marks the first time that chocolate was introduced to Europe. Yes. And for that reason alone, which seems like a really, really bizarre, obscure reason, because chocolate was introduced to Europe, we here in the Middle East
are celebrating.
Exactly, are celebrating Europe's introduction into chocolate. Okay. So to celebrate with some of the high cocoa, there we go, we have brought cocoa-rich dark chocolate. We are joined in studio by, how do you say, chocolaterie?
Chocolatier.
Chocolatier.
Not even pronouncing the R at the end.
You don't pronounce it?
No, chocolatier.
No. Yeah.
Chocolatier, okay. We here in the Middle East are sitting with chocolatier Ika Cohen, who, oh my God, this is amazing, who, you make all these amazing things, but because today is European Chocolate Day, this is so insanely bizarre. But
I think it's perfectly normal, insane, and it's the perfect thing to do.
European Chocolate Day in Tel Aviv. How do you make these? First of all, how many years have you been a chocolatier?
Over a decade already.
Seriously?
Yeah, over 10 years now. Well, I was traveling to Sydney.
Right.
And Australia, New Zealand, and I figure out what I want to do. And then most people are just traveling and tell you go there, and I was like, places. you have to try this one. You have to check out this chocolate. So this is when I understood that this is what I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm. No, I got to tell you, I'm very passionate about chocolate, but I'm not. I don't make it.
Especially on the 7th of July.
On the 7th of July, when it was introduced into Europe, yes, incredibly important day. But that said, being a chocolatier, it's almost an art form these days, isn't it? Right?
It is sort of an art. But first of all, this is the first time. Yesterday was the first time I heard that there is a chocolate day. But then I figure out this is a superfood.
Yeah, okay.
This is a superfood.
It's a superfood?
It's a superfood, yeah.
Okay, to explain to you what's a superfood?
I don't know what
superfood, help me out here, Ike. Superfood, over the course of the last 2 years, the whole Shanti Banti, people who are, into healthy eating, there's things like goji bears, right? Sorry, not bears, goji berries are superfood. Foods that are supposed to be good for your body.
Like if you eat 100 grams each day,
of chocolate.
You decrease your chances to have strokes, to have heart disease, to have cancer. It's antioxidant.
That's a superfood.
It has to be the good chocolate, though, right?
It has to be very good.
It has to be good chocolate. It has to be real chocolate. There is a debate over Europe if you're having Europe all headlines. So there is a big debate on what is real chocolate, because you cannot replace the cocoa butter into some substitutes and like vegetables, fat. So it has to be really the origin food, the origin materials, the really cocoa butter, the 54.
Fat is something you could find in cheap chocolate, like in kids' chocolate bars.
And it's not really a chocolate.
It's not real chocolate.
M&Ms, I love. Sorry for saying that.
No, I love M&Ms myself. I potty trained my kid with M&Ms.
This is
in your
chocolate.
mouth, not in your hands.
Yes, but that's vegetable. Okay,
and another research. If we're saying 100 grams, it's a lot. Saying that people who eat more chocolate are usually thinner.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
No, exactly.
How does that work? How does that work?
I don't know, but it is.
Let's test it.
I don't know how many people they tried. But it is.
That is a theory that needs to be tested on this European Chocolate Day.
Here in the studio. Here in the studio
in the Middle East. Okay. First of all, what do we have here? What is what?
Well, first of all, I don't make this. I buy this and I do the other stuff with
Got
that.
you. What are
these?
these?
This is our art.
Yeah.
This is chocolate. This is more interesting. Did you ever see such a color for chocolate?
This is chocolate. I mean, take one.
What is that?
What is that?
It's not white chocolate.
This is blonde chocolate.
Blonde chocolate.
Yeah, they caramelized.
Look.
They caramelized the white chocolate. This is amazing. Yes, exactly.
It's blonde chocolate. There's the chocolates and blondes too.
I love my job.
Yeah,
oh. Blonde, it's like caramel.
It's really good.
It's caramelized white chocolate. And
Caramelized,
it's amazing, yeah. And with a little bit of salt. Nowadays, we know that when you
Yeah, what
enter
is this thing that, like, nowadays, because I have to admit, I'm sorry, I'm eating on the nowadays, we've kind of like chocolate with salt, chocolate with what is it, with peppers, with like...
Well, that's the origin, because back then, when they were in the plantation, they didn't know what they wanted. They just picked it up, and they had chili,
exactly.
yeah, whatever was around, they put in for the cocoa. They only drink it then.
Right.
They didn't use it for eating, but yeah, whatever was around, they used it. So actually, using chili is going back to the origin.
It's going back to the days. But
Yeah.
these are the chocolates that you make.
Yeah, this is my baby.
That's your baby. What is that? What do you make? I mean, basically, there. It looks like little bits of jewelry. I'll be happy.
This is what you want. She really asked me. Let me try.
Exactly. Let
She's
me
not
try.
very interested
Right.
in what it is.
She knows me.
She just
okay.
wants
Well, there's like
so this is the winner actually. This one in an international chocolate award.
It won an international chocolate award.
Yeah.
Was it in New York?
Competitions?
Yeah,
Like
it was actually it was established in London, but it's all over today. Also, they're going to do it in Japan.
In Japan.
Already in America. Already in all Europe. So it's very, very, very interesting to meet other chocolatiers. Yeah. This is a lemon sesame. This is one of my favorite. Yeah.
Wow. Lemon. She's so calm. I love it. Lemon sesame. Yeah.
Nice.
yeah. Okay. I may have to try this.
No.
No? I can't?
No. I don't know if you should.
No?
No, I'm not sure.
Seriously?
You want to take the
I
risk?
have to, yes.
This is your risk.
This is my risk.
Yes, it is.
Really risk. Okay.
I'm not responsible.
You're not responsible.
Okay,
Lemon sesame,
go
it's happening. There we go. Okay. I'm going to it self-combust away. Wow, this is so interesting.
Is it? Yeah.
Interesting.
No, it's very yum. Hey.
You want to choose? You want to pick your words
it's
again?
Amazing.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say interesting. Okay.
Have some. You're gonna. I know it's over. We're eating on the air. This is so good. Wait, so it's got lemon in it?
Yeah, it's got the lemon zest.
The lemon zest.
And we do the praline, sesame
and this one an award. This is actually
fantastic.
Actually, the one that won the gold medal for year over year, it was a za'atar. And this is
how do you say za'atar?
I think it's marjoram, but I'm not
sure. Yeah, it's a spice that there's this Middle Eastern
spice. It's vegetables. It's grow up.
And then you can with chocolate.
I take it. I infuse it in the.
Where do we find your chocolates if we're living in Europe, which is where they're celebrating Chocolate Day today in the streets?
Today now, but on last Christmas we sold in Galerie Lafayette for the Christmas collection. It was amazing. Yeah, been in Israel in Galerie Lafayette. It was
and can we order like your chocolates online, something like that?
No, we were just for the Christmas over there. Yeah, here in Israel, online, no problem.
Online,
no problem. Yeah.
Right. Ika, you were staying with us. We're going to be eating all of this throughout the next segment, but you're locked in studio. It is, as we mentioned, European Chocolate Day. Woohoo! And we have all of these. Just quickly before, what is this? This is like real chocolate?
Let's just brag that we add some caramelized coconut.
Coconut.
Yeah.
Okay. It's time for the spiral viral that is the web review. I mean, I have to move this a little bit away from myself because I'm going to eat all of them.
You could have moved it this way.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. But you will. If this is funny, you'll get one.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Spiral viral web review.
Okay. This is the end of the world as we know it, as we can see from this item from the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
Bubble wrap will no longer be popping. I'm glad you were sitting down. I'm glad you were sitting down.
Yes. Okay.
This is the company that makes it called Sealed Air, which invented bubble wrap in 1957, so it's been around a long time, has said that it is trying to now save space and taking all the air out of the bubble wrap. And it's going to take about 1/50th of the size of what it is today.
Okay, first of all, bubble wrap is worth bupkis if it doesn't pop.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's
like,
anybody.
that's why I said it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world as we know it. I'm devastated.
I'm sorry to
I'm
open
giving
with such
up.
horrible news.
Yeah, terrible,
this is
terrible. But who cares? It's chocolate day in Europe.
Right.
Yes.
Off to some food invention here.
Yes.
This is an Israeli invention. It's a machine, and this is from an item from Gizmodo. That the headline says it puts baristas to shame. What it is it imprints on your coffee latte any kind of picture that you want, and it does it like from your phone. You can download an app.
Look at that.
You can send this thing to the machine that has the coffee shop that has this machine, and it puts it in 6 seconds. It puts any picture you want. We have a video of it. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look, please.
You got it on the spot. You made it feel like there was light. It kept me up all night. So
Israeli invention there.
Israeli invention. I have to say, who's bored enough to sit at home? Come on.
Yeah. Apparently, this is going to be used for a lot of marriage proposals.
Oh God!
And the coffee, and
I
will
want
you
to tell
marry
you, I'm
me?
so glad if anybody comes to me, would have come to me with a coffee cup and, you know, will you marry me?
Well, you know what already bought it, by
The
the way?
hamburger one? You saw the hamburger video?
Yeah.
The which one? The what?
The hamburger
She
video.
didn't marry him.
She didn't marry him.
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't marry the guy. Yes.
Lufthansa bought this, by the way.
Lufthansa
This machine.
bought it?
Yeah.
How
They're gonna put it in
very
their
German.
lounges.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Okay, this might explain some of my 20s or some of my 30s. This study that was done in Indiana University.
Right.
The new study says alcohol literally makes bad food smell better. What is this is the reasoning for why we go on those after we drink a little and we get kind of hungry. Okay, so scientists at Indiana University's medical school did a first of its kind study looking at the effects that drinking has on food aroma and appetite. They found that drunken eating may be a result of an effect that alcohol has on the brain, making food smell better than it should.
Does that explain all the cold pizzas of my 20s? Yes.
Cold pizzas.
All the really bad Chinese food at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Shawarmas after with tons of tahina.
Yes, yes. Anything fried, yes, definitely. Yes. Okay.
TripAdvisor. Do you use TripAdvisor? I mean, I use TripAdvisor quite a lot. Not that I travel that much, but I use it. But you know, I have had very good. I have very good experiences with TripAdvisor. I think it's great. This newspaper tricked TripAdvisor, and they made a fake restaurant. They called it La Scaletta. There's no restaurant like this. It's called La Scaletta, and in less than a month, it became the top-ranking restaurant in Italy.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Okay, and who gave like the what? Like
they put fake reviews and they did the whole thing.
Was this a test or is that
what
they
do? It was a test.
Do?
Yeah, they tried to show that TripAdvisor is a bit. You know,
is
you
a
gotta,
bit is like is
a bit tricky.
Nice.
TripAdvisor said it's a pretty meaningless experiment to create a fake listing or reviews
no,
just to try
I agree,
and catch us out.
Which is the perfect timing, I think. So, Ika, I think it's a perfect timing to show our viewers that this chocolate is not fake. Case in point, here, try this.
Thank you very much.
Right. This, by the way, is entirely real. What is this? This is regular chocolate.
No, this is milk chocolate with biscuit.
Okay, yeah.
What?
Very real.
Biscuit.
With biscuit, yes. I love you. You've got this right. Okay.
Thank
And moving on.
High trending one from BuzzFeed.
Yes.
But this is about, I can't talk.
Yeah.
Honey, Humans of New York. You know this. You follow it on Facebook, on Instagram, and
everybody does.
Picture that he put up, of a young boy. Looks like he's crying. And he says in the caption, "I'm homosexual, and I'm afraid about what my future will be, and that people won't like me." That's the picture there. And curiously enough, Hillary Clinton answered him. And her response went totally viral. "Prediction from a grown-up: your future is going to be amazing. You will surprise yourself with what you're capable of and the incredible things you go on to do. Find the people who love and believe in you. There will be lots of them." And also, Ellen DeGeneres had something to say. I think we also have that one.
Ellen DeGeneres coming up.
Not only will people like you, they'll love you. I just heard of you, and I love you already. And I just saw, but we don't have the pic of this, Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh responded?
Rush Limbaugh responded. No, he didn't respond, but he said on his radio show, "This kid's a phony. It has to be a conspiracy because Clinton, because Hillary Clinton said something."
Not that I'm, and I'll say this on on the air. Not that I'm a Rush Limbaugh supporter, but this is it's too cute to be true. Come on.
You're siding with Rush Limbaugh.
I'm not siding with Rush Limbaugh, but it feels like
this is the end of the world.
It is the end of the world, as we know it. It may be time to have another chocolate.
You might want to have another chocolate after this one.
Okay, sure.
Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
got married.
Ah,
Another one that
finally.
happened. What is it with July 4th? What is it? We heard yesterday
I
about
told
Billy
you,
Joel.
people are getting.
And
you
Vanessa
know why?
Williams.
I'll tell you why.
Okay,
because men have a tendency to forget their wedding anniversary.
Right.
Seriously, and I think American men have cracked the code that if they get married on July 4th, there's no way they can forget that.
You think that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all
bad.
about
that's
that.
That's not bad.
Ika thinks the same thing. Yes. Okay.
And cuteness alert. Just a few, two more items from cuteness alert. This is
Yes.
from Bored Panda. This guy is called Bob the Golden Retriever, and he has great friends, 8 birds and a hamster. Let's just take a look at these pictures that this guy, the Instagram feed. I think we should start following because it is just too cute.
Oh, come on. And a second later, he ate them. No, I'm kidding.
No. Hey, look at this. Look isn't that?
Oh, come on. This is so...
Isn't he great? Look, here they look a little drugged.
They look completely drugged. I'm sorry, not drugged. They look dead.
Here,
oh, come on. Are they, who owns this dog? Is he killing other animals?
I bet you Rush Limbaugh thinks that's a conspiracy.
Exactly. I'm thinking they're stuffed animals. Look at that.
Is that cute or what?
But there's no video. You see? There's no...
You think that's it?
Yeah. Okay. Sadly. But quickly, all the time we have?
Just another one called Forever and Ever. Two girls that 2-year-olds, and they just love dressing up, and they're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous. Okay.
Very popular on Instagram.
Very cute. Okay. They're very cute. This is, by the way, so we'll finish with this because this is another opportunity to remind you all. Today is Chocolate Day in Europe. And I think this calls for a very big one. Yes. I think my shirt just popped. You want this one?
The pecan. What is that?
The pecan one?
Rice
Okay.
Krispies. I don't know what that is.
Caramelized almonds.
Almonds.
Okay, when we get back, anything and everything in U.S. culture, who cares? Yes, we've got chocolate l'chaim. This is, I'm afraid to eat this because this is too big. Okay.
Wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah? Fantastic?
Go for this.
Yeah. Go for this?
Yeah,
I took a bite out of this. I feel a little bad. Okay. Okay, I'll go for this.
This is
Seriously?
addictive. This is addictive.
This is addictive?
Yeah.
Yeah. I-24 News Morning Edition on this July 7th, 2015. There is no deal signed yet between Iran and world powers, but I had about 5 pieces of chocolate.
There you go. And that is all you need.
I'm like this, which is the perfect time to introduce Natalie Ehrlich, host, and of course, Natalie, and of course also Ronnie Stav with us. It's chick time on the show. And Natalie, host of the Economy Magazine and I-24 News. What do you have for us today?
Well, it's really interesting. Last week I got the chance to go to Beersheba, which is actually developing this very fascinating cyber tech hub in the desert. So as we all know, Israel is well known for its startups.
High-tech nation, yeah.
High-tech nation. So there's this new effort to basically create this new hub of cyber innovation.
No, which is fascinating because, you know, they've been trying for years to, they say, to make the desert bloom, and maybe the way to do it is digitally. You have a piece for us? Yeah. Let's take a look at the report.
In the middle of Israel's Negev desert, an oasis of cybersecurity innovation is blossoming. A number of factors, both local and global, have encouraged the development of this cyber tech center in Israel's largest southern city, Beersheba. A substantial transfer of IDF facilities to this desert hub has already attracted multinationals as they look to stay near the Army's tech-savvy workforce. Ben Gurion University's fresh pool of talent and the foresight of some local pioneers are also reasons.
What we've seen about 4 years ago is that there is a whole new wave of cyber attacks coming to hit many of the federal agencies as well as the corporations out there, and we thought that's an excellent ecosystem to create a whole new set of companies in that space.
Israeli venture capital firm JVP first opened its Beersheba Cyber Labs office 2 years ago, well before other big names started to take notice of Israel's southern capital. Even a few years ago, camels were a common sight here, along stretches of dusty dirt roads, which now are buffered by shiny new centers filled with IT whizzes, defense buffs, and cyber innovators. Ronen Yehoshua, the CEO of Morphosec, works in the field of polymorphic defense, which he says would have prevented security breaches on companies like Target and Office Depot.
Hackers all the time improve the techniques. They build new types of attacks. The security measures try to understand what are those techniques. They build new mechanisms in order to defend against them, and the attackers learn them and again build a new type of attacks in order to overcome them. So this is a never-ending cycle.
Coronet specializes in the mobile phone and Wi-Fi space.
Everybody protects against the upper levels, the application operating system levels, and nobody is focusing on that world. And wherever there is a world that is unfocused, that's where the attackers go.
Still, Beersheba has long been an overlooked destination in Israel, locals often preferring the lush coastline with its lively nightlife. We're standing right here in the middle of the Negev Desert, and all this cyber tech development that you can see right here behind me actually fits in right along with the government's plan to expand business and commerce outside of the center. Global tech companies are also fueling interest in Beersheba. EMC, Lockheed Martin, Oracle, and IBM have all opened up excellence centers here. And Beersheba is starting to see the same big exits traditionally seen in Tel Aviv. In March, eBay's PayPal bought startup Cyactiv for $65 million. With a sum like that, it's hard not to take Beersheba seriously.
No, it's amazing, Natalie, because what I like about the report, and just looking at that it looks like a mini Silicon Valley, a tiny mini
Indeed,
one,
yeah.
or a little bit like more urbanically like Tel Aviv in many ways. If one lives in Israel, knows what we're talking about.
Right.
But cyber is it counter cyber terrorism or not? That's the thing that's giving the high-tech communities or the high-tech industry a boom in Beersheba?
Right. There's a huge demand, actually, for this kind of technology now with some of the breaches that we've seen on corporations like Office Depot and Target, and also the U.S. federal government just recently had a suspected hack attack from suspected China. So there's a lot of demand, basically, for this kind of technology.
That, or, Sony Pictures, for example. I'm just saying, Sony Pictures might be, needing a little bit more cybersecurity. Fascinating. All this also featured on the Economy magazine, obviously, that is shown on I-24 News. What time is it usually shown?
7:40 in the evening.
7:40 in the evening, daily I-24 News. You should check it out, which is also the perfect time to move.
For some entertainment.
For some entertainment, exactly.
Moving on, Sony Picture, we were able to create a little bit of this kind of thing going on.
Yeah, exactly.
The Grateful Dead's anniversary, 50th anniversary, happened this weekend, and they were having a weekend of shows.
Wait, stop!
I know.
Stop.
I know.
Natalie, do you remember the Grateful Dead?
I actually don't.
Exactly. Because Natalie is young. And
that is not fair, because I do remember the Grateful Dead, even though you keep on saying I am at a bat mitzvah age, but
it's the Grateful Dead.
True.
Wow.
They're amazing, and they have
amazing. Although I'm going to stop you yet again and say because I went to a Grateful Dead concert once.
Okay.
Yes, I know. Back in the early '90s, there used to be a rumor that you have to be incredibly high
in order
to enjoy the Grateful Dead. Otherwise, they're just playing the same song over and over and over again.
And there's a vamp in each and every song. But then there were interviews about it, and they're like, we're not all about drugs, and there's like music, and they are innovative in the
very
you know,
innovative,
like so we'll give that to them. And I mean, 50 years of career, that's remarkable. Yeah. Obviously, they were. I mean, they obviously split after Jerry Garcia's death in 1995. He passed away of a heart attack. Ever since, they were able to make a reunion twice. Actually, Obama has something to do with that.
Really?
Yeah. And yesterday Obama celebrated this Grateful Dead with a statement saying like, congratulations and celebration. Enjoy this weekends of celebration of your fans and legacy. And as Jerry Garcia obviously would say, let there be songs to feel the air. That's actually what Obama said yesterday.
See, let there be songs to feel the air.
Yeah.
That's a line of a stone person. Come on.
That's actually trying to working on like American Beauty and the reprise and
to feel the air.
To feel the air.
No, I love
you need to feel
to feel the air.
It's true. You just need to feel the air. And, but I'm pretty excited Obama said that. It makes everything just a little bit better.
Maybe Obama inhaled. There's that.
Yeah, there's that. So the Obama Grateful Dead connection started in February 2008 when Weir, Lash, and Hart reunited for the first time in 4 years to perform at Deadhead's For Obama Super Tuesday campaign. Then they reunited again in October 2008 again. This time, Kreutzmann play with them at Obama rally in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sensing a trend. I'm sensing a bit of a trend here.
Yeah. So now Obama is happy about them. Obviously, it's the original members, Bob Weaver, Phil Lash, Bill Kreutzmann, and Mickey Hart. They were joined by new guys, Fish guitarist Trey Anastasio, Red Dog's Jeff Kimeti, and keyboardist Bruce Hornsby.
Look at Obama there. Wait, it's Obama and Michelle. Like with the smiles.
This is the pictures from 2000.
Those are the Dead, okay, the Grateful Dead, which it's amazing to see them that old. And there's Obama and Michelle.
And there's a bow tie.
A bow tie, but Obama's got the president of the United States. Exactly. He's got kind of like, dude, look at me. Exactly. I'm with the Dead. No, that's very cute.
Yeah, this is actually from 2009 in an Oval Office visit. So
okay.
There's a little bit of
very nice.
So it was.
It never happens here. Yeah, can you imagine them with Netanyahu?
No, not really. Not really.
Okay.
Anyway, it was a 5-night, two-state fair, Fare Thee Well concert series. The last one was on Sunday. 70,000 people were in Chicago's Soldier Field watching the Grateful Dead for the last time.
Wow.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, that is a lot of pot smoke in the air.
That is a lot of
It is.
A lot. Feel the air.
Feel the air.
As Obama said, if Obama said that, we should say that too.
I want to feel the air.
Absolutely. Someone that maybe felt the air just a little bit too much is Angelina Jolie lookalike Veronica Black. I think we have a picture of her.
Yeah, we have to see Veronica Black.
We need to see her for a moment. Okay, so here's Veronica Black. Apparently,
thank you, Natalie. That would be the response.
She looks exactly like Angelina Jolie. She's saying that she's looking.
I know.
Apparently, since.
Wait, stop. Stop.
Whoa! Yeah. There's a lot
July?
of the happy in general. Apparently, since she had her lips done in 2011, she said that she can't walk the streets and that men are intimidated by her.
Yeah, it's not the lips, baby.
Yes, exactly. I was like, are you sure it's the work on the lips that makes them intimidated?
Yeah,
I have a feeling it's a different work, but
whoa!
I'm just saying.
You know, I want to say, first of all, I think the cat looks much better. I think the cat really is. The cat to me looks more.
The
like
cat is real. Let's talk about the fact that the cat is real.
But the objectification, and the objectification of women, and I'm sorry that we have to take responsibility for it as well, because when we feel the need to change your bodies, whatnot, etc., I don't know.
And it's the story that never ends, because is objectification starting from magazines that show images that we can't really. Who's in charge of the magazines? It's actually women. Is it fashion? Like
true.
It's just no one knows where.
Of who's to blame in this respect, but yeah, I don't know.
But it's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem.
I completely agree, and that's why I love Amy Schumer, because she's objectifying men, which is one of my favorites. Amy Schumer, isn't she great?
She's phenomenal.
She's phenomenal. Her stand-up comedy, what I love about it is that it's not the female comedy of like, oh, I farted, oh, I pooped, wow,
like,
women
it's funny to hear a woman
things.
say something. No, it's
no,
the real
she's
things.
like, she plays the ditzy blonde, but in a way that's obviously not the ditzy blonde. And she's saying like Louis C.K., like hardcore things about racism and America and gender bender and whatever that is. She's there. So there's a new movie coming out July 17th, Trainwreck. It's about Amy Schumer not being able to fall into relationships. She was never into a monogamy kind of a situation, and a monogamy kind of a girl. And she's meeting a guy, and she doesn't get what's going on. Yeah, I think
we have a trailer. Let's take a look.
Simon, I need a profile on a sports doctor. Oh.
So you're doing the article on me?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to interrupt. We're watching Downton Abbey later?
LeBron, I'm being interviewed.
Listen, I'm watching it tonight because I'm not going to go to practice and all the guys are talking about it and I'm left out.
Tall.
You follow sports?
Sports. I love them.
Who's your favorite team?
The Orlando Blooms.
And we were missing the next part when she's like answering her phone and she telling her friend, I already had sex with him, why is he calling me? And she's hanging up like, what are you doing, you psychopath?
And that was LeBron James, by the way.
Yes.
That was LeBron James, for those of you who don't know. And just a little voice in my head that said that. With Amy Schumer, the one thing that I love, she had this amazing clip. It's falling into relationships. It's what you do. It's the real stuff. And she had this clip about how women when they're on a date and how they want to eat popcorn in a film theater.
I did not see that.
You did not see it. It's basically that you start off, you're sitting with a date and you're holding like this popcorn thing in front of you, and you want to be perceived as somebody who's not an animal eating, wolfing down the. So you start with like. You know that? But then 2 seconds later, okay. Yeah, so that's Amy Schumer, because we've all been there.
That is
We've
Amy
all
Schumer.
been there on a date with the biggest conundrum of how do I eat my popcorn?
Absolutely, and in her show, she keeps on like showing those things. She talks about everything. She talks about sexting and how ridiculous that is, and she talks about just the way of trying to make this thing work called relationship, which doesn't really, considering the fact how we are supposed to deal with life when we're supposed to be this, beautiful little, when we're supposed to be this Veronica Black thing that doesn't make sense.
See, we're not supposed to be the Veronica Black things. And
exactly.
And I'll beg to differ because, post so many operations that I myself had to become this gorgeous, looking blonde that I am. It's at the
How
end
do you feel now?
Now that I've, now that I've announced that all of this is fake. Exactly. But Amy Schumer with this, it's also nice to see, I think, female comedians and women comedians.
And we see so many of them lately.
Exactly. Having a surge over the course of the last several years, like,
Tina Fey, Amy Poehler.
Bridesmaids was,
Kathy.
Yes. Exactly. That one.
Her.
Yes.
I'm very bad with that.
No. And it's
but yes, it's this new type of comedy, and something that was, so going to Bridesmaids, that was too much for me, because I was like, so you're pooping together, get over yourself.
Yeah.
But Amy Schumer is doing the opposite. Amy Schumer is really able to give this woman that is just a real woman.
Let's tie this just back to business. Remember that article that you shared with me the other day about the former Disney chief talking about women not even being funny.
Thank you. No, thank you. You know what, Natalie, perfect thing, because there was this article that actually came out yesterday. Michael Eisner, former head of Disney, was quoted as saying that beautiful women are not funny. That it's really hard to find a beautiful woman that is funny.
I'm looking right at her.
But that's after all the work.
I'm sorry. Or, come on, there's death. There's
Absolutely.
Death. I know, and sadly that's how the world feels.
And going to Adam Sandler's with the new movie, there was the casting call. Rose McGowan called out the casting call saying that women should not wear a lot and come and they should be beautiful and stupid. Like,
the hell with that.
This objectification, yes, it keeps on happening, but women are calling it out, which is amazing.
We don't have time for the last one, apparently. Okay, well, what was the last one?
Diane Douglas died at the age of 92.
92, okay, less sad.
Mom of Michael Douglas, ex-wife of Kirk
Michael Douglas, who was here recently because the Grateful Dead are standing with Obama, and Michael Douglas visited Netanyahu.
There you go.
See, that brings it all together. I-24
Hopefully
News.
there was a lot of pot in all of these things.
I-24 News Morning Edition. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning for another morning edition, because it's the place you should be, because beautiful, funny women are on this show. That's it. Stick with I-24 for the news of the rest of the day.